Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. So we've got yet more teasers and news about the upcoming Knights, this time swinging back around to the Loyalist versions, and I have to say, they are looking mighty powerful. So what they show off today is two new mechanics coming in the book, the Bondsman Abilities and the Exalted Court upgrades. And alongside the Oaths and Honor mechanic and the new Chaplain abilities, there is a part of me that's a little bit worried that this codex may be a bit complicated on the rules front, but I have to be honest, the rules that we've seen so far are so fluffy and so fun and just so cool that I almost don't care. I really do just want to get my hands on this book and give it a whirl. First up, we have the Bondsman Abilities, and these are essentially buffs that the bigger Questoris Knight classes can give to your smaller Armigers. And as you can see, the rule states that some Knights, I think it's all except the Preceptor from what I understand, but they can give a Bondsman ability to one Armiger, and an Armiger can only be affected by one of these abilities at a time. And then what these abilities do is that they give the Armiger some buffs to help it perform even better in battle. And the one they showed off today is the Knight Crusader. This has the Crusader's Duty ability, so when you put this onto an Armiger within 12 inches, that Armiger, until your next command phase, gets +1 ballistic skill. And the Paladin, the Errant, the Crusader and all that have different buffs and different Bondsman abilities that they give out. Each one is unique to them. What is more impressive than that is that when you give out that Bondsman's buff, if your army is honoured or virtuous, and again if you remember back to the Chivalric Codes ability, that's how you get to be honoured or virtuous, but if you are in one of those two states, the Armiger gets -1 damage against enemy attacks as well. So you can hand out a set of -1 damage to your smaller knights, as well as buffing them by improving things like giving them +1 ballistic skill, or whatever the other versions for the Paladin and the Errant are. So you can make your Armigers really quite terrifying, not only in terms of their damage output, but also for your opponent to try and take down. The Bondsman abilities don't stop there though, because they can be made even more powerful using another new mechanic in the Knight Codex, the Exalted Court. And what this is a series of upgrades, I presume in the same way that we see the Chapter Command or the Captain Commander traits from Marines and Custodes that we've seen in pretty much every 9th edition codex so far. So for a points cost, you can upgrade your bigger knights to be members of the Exalted Court, and then they gain the Exalted Court keyword, and one of the buffs they get is that they can use their Bondsman abilities an extra time each turn. So now your big knight can be buffing up 2 Armigers each, not only giving out a load of extra bonuses like that +1 to hit, but also, more importantly arguably, spreading that -1 damage even further across your army. And so with 3 big knights and 6 Armigers, if you upgrade them all to the Exalted Court, you could be buffing all 6 of your Armigers with just those 3 big knights. And so all of your Armigers in the army would potentially be having -1 damage, which is just a huge boost to their durability. But then it doesn't stop there, because there is more. Because in addition to that bonus, each upgrade for the Exalted Court also has its own unique buffs as well. And so one that they show off, the High Monarch, which will probably be the biggest, most important and priciest upgrade. I mean, it is like the leader of your army. This guy does have to be your warlord. But then when you make one of your Exalted Court Knights the High Monarch, you roll a d6 whenever you gain an honor point, and on a 5+, you get an extra one, which makes it much easier for you to hit that virtuous bracket, or just keep yourself in honoured so that these buffs continue to stick around and they don't drop off. And then on top of that, because again, this isn't all of it, this is the gift that keeps on giving, on top of that, when the High Monarch uses his Bondsman ability, it hits all Armigers within 6 inches. So if you have a knight which is your High Monarch, and he's surrounded by 3 or 4 or 5 smaller Armigers, all of them will get that buff. And if you're honoured or virtuous, of course, all will get that -1 damage as well. So this is a huge force multiplying ability and will make your High Monarch just unbelievably good at making all of your armigers much more effective on the battlefield. The other one that they show off today is the Gatekeeper upgrade for the Exalted Court. This again can only go on a big knight, but what it does is that if you are in your deployment zone with this knight, he basically has transhuman physiology. So yes, all of that strength 9 plus weaponry, still going to be winning you on 4s. I mean, it's not as amazing as putting something like transhuman on a toughness 4 marine, of course, but still, making it harder for your enemy to kill your knights is always a very welcome ability when you have such a low model count army. The other thing that Gatekeeper grants is if you put your Bondsman ability on an armiger and that armiger is in range of an objective, it gains +1 toughness. So for example, if your Crusader Knight is your Gatekeeper and you are honoured, the armiger it buffs will be +1 ballistic skill, it will reduce incoming damage by 1, and it will be +1 toughness when it's near an objective. So this is altogether, like the Bondsman abilities and the Exalted Court, just such a brilliant, powerful, combined set of abilities that really do bring together the idea of the Imperial Knights being this cohesive, buffing, teamwork-oriented force, as opposed to the individualistic, greedy, self-buffing mechanics of the Chaos Knights. And I think that's one of the things I really love about these two codexes. I think it's so clever and so good of GW to not just make them copy-pastes, but to make each book feel so unique and have its own direction and focus and strengths to play with. I love them both, and I think they are both going to be so much fun to play. But obviously, as an Imperial Knight player myself, I am loving what they've done for the Imperial Knights. I love these bonuses, and I cannot wait to put together a combined arm list with a few big knights supported by loads of Armiger squires that they can just buff the ever-loving heck out of to make them as killy and as durable and as speedy and just as good as I possibly can. So there we go. Some quite complex but incredibly exciting stuff coming for the Imperial Knights, I think. It is admittedly a lot to take in, but I do think that much like the Custodes Katars, they will be a lot simpler to get your head round when we actually have the book in our hands and we have got a few practice games under our belts. On the face of it though, I think this whole set of abilities and everything they've shown off for the Imperial Knights so far seems super fluffy, super fun, and to be honest, incredibly powerful to play with. But as always, what do you think? Will you be building an Exalted Court of your own, or are the dark forces of chaos tempting you towards the selfish Chaos Knights more? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I'll catch you later guys.